Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. This is the 58th part of What If Deku Was Sanji's Reincarnation, My Heroes Reborn. The author of this great fan-fic is Emily. Links to them and original story in the description. Chapter 58, Off to Boarding School. A couple days after Katsuki returned home there was a press conference. While no one in Class 1A besides Katsuki were put in the hospital by the incident, most of Class 1B were. Combined with two of the wild pussycats severely injured in the incident, there had to be some sort of announcement. And the announcement very surprising. UA was going to become a boarding school. And it was going to be mandatory for safety reasons. There was a backlash. Though everyone figured it could have been worse had their original plan of kidnapping Katsuki, it could have been worse. Flashback. The group decided to ask Todoroki if he knew anything on why Priestess had used her quirk on Katsuki. She said she wanted him broken. Said Todoroki. They were trying to kidnap him. Said Izuku. They were probably expecting him to have a normal life. Said Momo. I don't know if that would have broken him though. Said Izuku. If he had a normal past life, knowing him, he probably would have shrugged it off. It doesn't matter in the end. Said Toru. He was your crewmate in a past life. Yeah. Sighed Izuku. You're not angry with him anymore, are you? Asked Achiko. No. Said Izuku. It's hard to be mad at him anymore. He knew, didn't he? Asked Mashireo. Everyone on the ship knew. Said Izuku. When his head clears he's going to be beating himself up. Well, I was wrong, he did learn about it himself. Said Toru. You did say something like that. Said Izuku with a sweat drop. That was when they realized Todoroki was still there and an awkward silence filled the air. Are you talking about Judge? Asked Todoroki. Wait, he told Todoroki about Judge. Thought everyone but Izuku. No, but it's related. Said Izuku. I've been wanting to tell for a while now anyway. And with this he told Todoroki about the history repeating except of both his lives. He was horrified and angry with Bakugo. He knew that things were far more complicated now that he remembered his past life. End of flashback. However, for the teachers they needed to talk to everyone's parents about the dorms and get their permission. For Class 1A the teachers were Aizawa as well as All Might. Though Hibiki did join on the 6th that were reincarnations to set up alternate forms of therapy in case their parents declined. As it turned out so far, Momo's, Mashireo's, who couldn't help but to approve due to his lack of a sense of direction, Toru's and Achiko's, which wasn't a surprise as her parents lived far away and she lived alone, had all approved. However, and at the moment they were talking to Mitsuki and Katsuki's father Masaru about them signing off. You know, he's been sullen half the time since he got hit by that quirk. It must have really messed him up. Said Mitsuki. Katsuki was glaring at the floor. Almost willing for it to catch on fire. So about the dorms. Said All Might. If you're uncomfortable, he still needs to adjust to his new memories. Said Hibiki. Hey. I think it's better to send him off. Said Mitsuki. I took him shopping yesterday, I lost him 3 times. Not to mention he's been eyeing the liquor cabinet. The 3 heroes looked at Katsuki. Not the getting lost thing, after months of dealing Mashireo they knew what to expect, but by the liquor cabinet thing. You just had to mention that hag. Muttered Katsuki. But yeah. Once the dorms are ready he's your problem now. Said Mitsuki. She and Masaru signed the paperwork. As they were leaving the house, Aiko texted Hibiki. I dare you to start the next session with, tell me about your mother. No. Muttered Hibiki. What? Asked Aizawa. Just Aiko giving me a stupid dare. He muttered. Was it starting the next session with, tell me about your mother to young Bakugo? Asked All Might. Hibiki stared at All Might. Spooky. Said Aiko. So how many students do you have left? Because I only have 1 left and I'm only here to come up with alternate therapy plans. Said Hibiki. How about we split up since there's only a couple left? Said All Might. I can go to young Midoriya with him. Are you sure? Asked Aizawa. I don't mind, said Hibiki. Aizawa nodded. Each of the families of the incarnations have been awkward in one way or another. They parted ways with Aizawa with All Might deflating to his true form on the way to Izuku's place. So I take it you actually want to tell his mom that you've been mentoring him for a while, said Hibiki. It's probably a good idea, said All Might. I mean, most of the class knows and Yuzu let it slip at that party we went to, so multiple people know you're his mentor, before his mom, said Hibiki. Oh, you don't think they'll say anything? Asked All Might. It's only Hiroki who might be the weakest link of them, and I've been occasionally letting him know not to tell people that All Might is mentoring one of them, said Aiko. Who? Asked All Might. Neat shot, said Hibiki, and yeah, out of everyone at the party he's the only one who hasn't earned my trust in that way. Chuko did a good job during that week, always one of my closest friends. That project with Ruji earned my trust, and Sita was going to be helping out with the League of Villains for the foreseeable future, so. Wait, one of the incarnations is going to be helping out with the League, why? Asked All Might. I haven't gotten permission to explain why at the moment, sorry, said Hibiki. Does it have to with a past life? Asked All Might. Hibiki sighed. It's a trust thing, said Hibiki. I understand, said All Might. They got to the apartment building and All Might once again buffed up. You think you can hold that for a bit longer? Asked Hibiki. All Might didn't answer. Oh, said Hibiki, realizing what the number one hero might be doing. Honestly, I should have done both things a long time ago, said All Might. Hibiki nodded. That was when Inko opened the door expecting Hibiki and at least one other teacher. Oh my gosh. You're All Might. I knew you were a teacher, but I never thought. Gushed Inko. Of course. We are here to talk about the dorm situation, said All Might. Why did he say about me for a teacher thing? Hibiki muttered to himself. After all, plenty of heroes wished to team up with All Might and have him say that. Of course, said Inko, shaking a little. They walked down the hallway. Though when they did, All Might did take a peek into Izuku's room, chuckling at the fanboy room. Izuku was waiting for them in the living room. I know I should get used to having pro heroes visit, said Inko, especially after what happened the other day. What do you mean? Asked All Might. Well, said Inko. We got a surprise a few days ago, said Izuku, blushing. Flashback. Inko was washing dishes while Izuku was reading a book as part of homework when the doorbell rang. I'll go get it, said Izuku. Inko nodded as Izuku got the door. He opened it and got quite the surprise. It was a certain introduction, the Wild Wool Pussy Cat's introduction. As both Mandalay and Ragdoll were there, along with Kota, who was looking away from Izuku for a bit. Ragdoll, you're okay, said Izuku. That was when Ragdoll hugged him. Izuku entered love mode as she hugged him. That was when Inko walked over to the door and Izuku pushed down the mode because he wanted his mom to see him in that state. What's going on? Asked Inko. Oh mom, these are two of the wild pussycats, said Izuku. If it wasn't for your son, the League of Villains would have kidnapped me, said Ragdoll. Also, Kota has something to give you, said Mandalay. Really? Asked Izuku. Kota nodded. It was both a thank you note and an apology note about punching him. So it looks like it's you also got your first official token of gratitude, said Ragdoll. Izuku blushed. Malady also smiled at Izuku. So, is too late for lunch? Asked Ragdoll. Everyone else sweat dropped at that. Sorry, said Izuku. Honestly, muttered Kota. It's fine, said Mandalay face-palming. I was half expecting this. Well, your food does that effect on people, said Inko. End of flashback. All Might laughed as his blushing protege. So your first token of gratitude is apology note for punching you in the balls, said Hibiki. Well, that's going to be a good conversation starter in the future. Plus you got a hug from the wild pussycats, said Aiko. Just don't tell those two idiots. Izuku laughed nervously. Yeah. I don't know how they would react to that, said Izuku. If they find and don't react in a good way, Aiko can do her thing, said Hibiki. Aiko started to laugh evilly. The subject was quickly changed to ignore Aiko. When Izuku little, all he ever wanted to be was a hero. He looked up to you, All Might, said Inko. For years I was worried, but then he got his quirk followed by remembering his past life. He has become so strong. He saved a pro hero from getting kidnapped in a way no one would have found her. She started crying. I'm so proud of him, cried Inko, and I don't want to get in the way of his dream. Mom, said Izuku. All Might smiled at this reaction. Young Midoriya is something else, said All Might with a bright smile. Inko nodded. Though I do have a confession to make, said All Might. Something young Midoriya has been hiding from you for nearly a year. You want to tell them, said Izuku, almost panicking. About the mentorship, said All Might. Izuku calmed down a little. Oh, that, said Izuku. What was that about? Thought Hibiki, realizing something more was going on, but decided not to dwell on it. Has he taken you under his wing at school? Asked Inko. Actually, it's something else, said All Might. Last year during that sludge villain incident, I saw something in young Midoriya. I could sense that he had a latent quirk similar to my own. I, much like him, was a late bloomer. Really? Asked Inko. It's true, said All Might. I took it upon myself to help him train so that he could awaken his quirk. I'm sorry I kept it a secret for so long. Inko was just in shock at this news, however. I'm sorry, I should have told you sooner, said All Might, but I will help keep an eye on him. Of course, said Inko. I'll keep an eye on him too, don't worry, said Hibiki. However, that was when All Might began to steam. All Might, said Izuku. I know. He sighed. That was when suddenly All Might deflated. What? Cried Inko. All Might sighed. I've also decided to let you in on a secret, sighed All Might. What just happened? What's going on? Cried Inko. Well, you see, said All Might, who then coughed up blood. Inko almost fainted. Mom! It's okay. Really? Said Izuku. I'm starting to think this was a mistake, said Hibiki. Once Inko calmed down, they explained All Might's injuries and time limit. How many people know? Asked Inko. Only the staff at UA and a few chosen friends, including young Uraraka, said All Might. Inko looked at Izuku. It happened at the Island incident, explained Izuku. I see, said Inko. That was when she remembers something. Wait, is he the one you cook for? Asked Inko. He is, said Izuku. Before then, all she knew that he was cooking for someone at Recovery Girl's suggestion. It was actually young Midoriya's suggestion, said All Might. It's also how Lunch Rush tasted Izuku's cooking, said Hibiki. You still need to have a cooking battle with him, pointed out Inko. I know, sighed Izuku. I still expect you two to take care of him, said Inko. I know he's very strong now, but I can't help but to get worried. Of course, said All Might, you have my word. It was already my job, said Hibiki with a shrug. Inko nodded as she signed the paperwork for it. I'm going to miss him, but I know he can also come to visit, cried Inko. And you're going to miss his cooking, said Aiko. You've never even tasted that, said Izuku with a sweat drop. The fact that Ragdoll was hoping to eat it when she showed up says everything. I don't know what taste is like, but the fact that happened means a lot, said Aiko. Izuku blushed in embarrassment. Days later it was moving day and almost all of Class 1A had gathered outside their new dorm building. Two were missing. Izuku and Katsuki. You don't think that Bakugo quit, do you? Asked Tsuyu. No, he probably got lost, said Toru. Which is why Izuku was late, said Achiko. Oh yeah, you're the only one who didn't hear what Aiko said about his past life, said Kaminari. That was when Aizawa arrived and looked at the students. Midoriya and Bakugo are missing, said Aizawa. He sighed and realized what had happened. He took out his transceiver, which was a new upgraded one that could switch between Ojiro and Bakugo. Thankfully he saw that the signal was close. That was also when Izuku showed up dragging Katsuki with him. Sorry we're late, said Izuku, who then entered Sanji mode. Someone got lost. I didn't get lost. It's not my fault that I didn't know where the dorms were, muttered Katsuki. That would be a decent excuse, but we could see the dorms from the main building, muttered Izuku. You want to make something of it, Moss Head, yelled Katsuki. He started using it, said Ida. He did, confirmed Achiko. Midoriya. Bakugo, scolded Aizawa, using his quirk on them, making the two stop. Aizawa sighed as he looked at his gathered student. There isn't really much to say, he said. This has been a tough year for us all, and honestly what happened at camp could have been a lot worse. The class was quiet at this. Now I expect you all to take care of the dorms, said Aizawa, and if Midoriya is unavailable you have to take turns cooking. They would question what he said, but considering the dinners he made during camp, him cooking breakfast, dinner, and on days they didn't eat in the cafeteria lunch, it made sense that he would be in charge. Also I expect you all to do chores, said Aizawa. Don't worry Mr. Aizawa, I will come up with the perfect schedule for chores, said Ida. Whatever, muttered Aizawa, just please don't try to destroy the dorms. You don't seriously think we'd destroy the dorms? Asked Tsuyu. There was an awkward silence. Well, not everyone, said Toru. The class looked at the four strongest students in class, which were of course Izuku, Katsuki, Momo, and Todoroki. Why am I being lumped in? Asked Momo. It's probably a good idea to cover the bases, said Aizawa. Momo sighed as Izuku patted her back. I expect you to be on your best behavior. If not, I will get Kinzoku to give us one of his devices with Aiko to watch you all, said Aizawa. I still can't believe you guys have access to a really high-tech AI, said Mina. We got kind of used to it, said Achiko with a shrug. I have some more work to do, so just unpack and settle in, said Aizawa. For the rest of the afternoon and into the evening they all unpacked and got their rooms settled in. Eventually everyone came down the common area, which included a full kitchen, an area with a TV and some game systems. Of course, as everyone was coming down to the common area, Izuku had started cooking dinner for everyone. Once again no one was surprised by the fact he was able to cook for everyone, not when the two dinners as camp they were supposed to be in charge handled entirely by him. So how much of your All Might collection did you bring? Asked Achiko. Oh, that's not important, laughed Izuku, trying to brush it off. Oh yeah, you've actually been to Midoriya's house, said Kirishima. His room back there is such a fanboy room, said Kaminari. Are you sure it's a good idea to mock the guy who's cooking your food? Asked Shiro. I would never in that way. Muttered Izuku in Sanji mode. It's true. Muttered Katsuki. This is going to get weird that you've known each other in 2 lives. Said Shiro. Are you guys like soulmates or something? Asked Mineta. You want to die? Yelled Katsuki. Never joke about that again. Said Izuku. I wonder what the chances are we knew each other in our past lives too. Said Mina. That would be weird if a lot of us knew each other. Said Kaminari. It's still better if you don't get hit. Said Momo. Yeah. Agreed Achiko. Even if I am stronger, a lot of it still sucks. Said Katsuki. The rest of the class was quiet at this, with the only noise being Izuku's cooking sounds. Thankfully, when dinner was ready, a topic was brought up. I don't think it's against the rules if we check out each other's rooms. Said Toru. What? Asked Ida. Aizawa didn't say anything. Said Mina. The others looked at each other. However, soon enough other things were talked about during dinner about their rooms. And soon there was talk about a competition. This sounds fucking stupid. Said Katsuki. What are you afraid you're going to lose? Asked Izuku in Sanji mode. You're the one who's going to lose because of your All Might room. Muttered Katsuki. You know what I don't know anymore. Said Izuku. You can't hide your room. Said Achiko. Some of us has already seen it. Reminded Tokoyami. Izuku sighed, however Katsuki's pride was also getting in the way about this. And soon the room tour began. It was the 2nd floor for the boys' area. Please, does my room have to be first? Asked Izuku. Just rip it off like a band-aid. Said Toru. Izuku left them in this room, which of course was decked out with All Might goods, including a bedspread and a curtain. Really, the only non-All Might stuff in the room was some cookbooks. Hey, I was wondering, did All Might give you any of this stuff? Asked Kyoka. A couple things. Admitted Izuku. Wait, so you're no longer pretending that you two aren't close? Asked Sato. Izuku just sighed. You know, I've been wondering, how did All Might even take you under his wing? Asked Tokoyami. Izuku knew he had to tell the official story to his class eventually. You know how I was a late bloomer? Asked Izuku. Katsuki flinched at some members of the class glared at him lightly. Well, he noticed that his quirk was similar to mine during an incident. Said Izuku, so he started to train me so that I could awaken it and handle it, though it took me a while to control it. If it wasn't for your past life memories, you would have kept breaking your bones. Said Shiro. I know. Sighed Izuku. However, he didn't notice the way Katsuki was looking at him as if putting together the pieces of everything. They went to Tokoyami's room next. It was dark and depressing. You have a sword? Asked Izuku. Both Katsuki and Momo both checked out the sword. This thing would be terrible in a fight. Muttered Katsuki. I'm pretty sure it's just for decoration. Said Momo. Figures, he doesn't seem like the type actually fight with a sword. Said Katsuki. Tokoyami's eye twitched. Get out. He muttered. Afterwards they went into Aoyama's room, which was filled with shiny things like mirrors and a disco ball. Afterwards the last room on the level was Mineta's, who was beckoning them in a creepy way. I refuse to go in your room, yelled Momo, who looked ready to beat him up. Yeah. I have to agree, said Mina. Let's skip it, said Toru. They all walked away, which was better that way. They then went to the 3rd floor of the boys' area. First they went to Ida's room, which was very clean and had a lot of spare glasses just in case he lost them. Next they went to Mashireo's room, which was rather plain. Have you even gotten a chance to unpack? Asked Momo. Mashareo sighed. He didn't have much to show off his room. Afterwards was Kaminari, which was kind of random. And was mocked for it. After that was Koda's room, which was kind of plain, but it did have something. You have a bunny, said Toru and Achiko. You smuggled in your pet? Asked Ida. Koda blushed at that. Katsuki was oddly silent at this. Are you hiding something? Asked Izuku. You'll see later, muttered Katsuki. Afterwards it was the fourth floor. First was Shoji's, which was even more empty than Mashareo's room. Afterwards was Kirishima rooms, which was pretty manly. Filled cool posters and a punching bag. They got to Katsuki's room, which was extremely clean. There was also an extremely large set of weights. Wow, this room is way more clean, said everyone surprised. Your room is spotless, said Achiko, eventually surprised. You saw how clean my room, now get the fuck out, muttered Katsuki. It's because of Auntie, isn't it? Asked Izuku. Katsuki's eye twitched. It was better not to get into Katsuki's cleaning habits. Wait. These weights are massive. Kirishima. How were you able to get these in? Yelled Mineta. I carried them, said Katsuki, entering Zoro mode. These have to weigh a ton, said Kaminari. Katsuki, annoyed, picked up a massive weight like it was nothing. It's one of the side effects of that quirk, you regain the muscle strength of your past life, he explained. Almost everyone stared in horror. Hey! Do you think I can probably lift as much? Asked Kirishima, getting into it. Probably, said Katsuki with a smirk, but it will take a lot of work. Kirishima grinned at this. The others in the they group were happy about this, partially because of the whole hard to connect with people thing they heard about. And if Katsuki and Kirishima remained friends, it would be a good thing. That was when they heard a meow. It was a small cat that was started rubbing against Katsuki, who then picked her up. You snuck in a pet too? Asked Achiko. Technically no, said Katsuki. They all looked at Koda, who was blushing a little. You gave Bakugo a cat? Asked Tsuyu. It's complicated, whispered Koda. It was a stray that developed a love of Katsuki during that time. Since she didn't have a family, Koda thought it would be a good idea to smuggle in her in and give her a home and give him a companion animal, since they couldn't do the walking home thing again. But, don't worry, I have a plan if Mr. Aizawa finds out, said Koda. Said plan was do nothing. Aizawa might do something about his pet bunny, but he wouldn't do anything about a pet cat. Koda knew about Aizawa's love of cats from various neighborhood cats. So in other words, yeah. Tour's over, get the fuck out, muttered Katsuki. As there were only 3 people on the floor, they went up to floor 5, and the final floor. They got to Ciro's room first, which was something a rather interesting Asian feel to it. Though when they got to Todoroki's room, it was rather interesting. It appeared to be a traditional Japanese room. Wait, how? Asked Achiko. I did all myself, said Todoroki. But we were only here for a few hours, said Izuku, getting a bad feeling about this. I'm a really hard worker, said Todoroki. Everyone was just staring at in confusion at that answer. Okay. I think we need to start planning the occasional outing, because I think Todoroki really needs to get out more, said Toru. Both Izuku and Katsuki nodded in agreement, knowing about his history with his father. It was also a bit disconcerting that he was talking about fixing the floor because it didn't set properly. And finally, for the boys' room, it was Sato's room, which was once again a plain room, but he had a convection oven, which he was using to bake a cake. Due to how his quirk worked, getting stronger by eating sugar, he often made his own sweets, and he was planning to share the cake he was baking with the class. The girls in Izuku all had some. I know it's not as good as your cooking, said Sato a bit embarrassed. Come on, we can always give you our recipes, said Toru. She's right, you can always get better, said Izuku. Why do I think that he just accidentally bribed everyone for the competition? Asked Kaminari. Because he probably did, said Mineta. Now it was time for the girls' room. As no one was on the second floor, it was third floor first. First was Kyoka's, which was pretty cool rocker room and was filled with a lot of musical instruments. Though it was made fun of for not being girly. However, after Airs was Toru's room, which was really girly. This what I was expecting from a girl's room, said Kaminari. Kyoka was glaring at him. However, Mineta tried to sneak to Toru drawers. What do you think you are doing? Said Momo. She to grab him, but Mineta bumped into something, when the wall suddenly rotated, revealing a bunch of things. Some of it were party supplies while other things were her usual party-based weapons. Everyone started gaping at this. Yeah, I might have done some things to the room, admitted Toru, somewhat embarrassed. You turned your room into some sort of weird party spy room, said Kaminari. Yeah, said Toru. Is this awesome or terrifying? Said Kaminari. After calming down, they went upstairs. Next was Mina's room, which was also very girly with pink and black covering the place. Then they got to Achiko's room, which was also pretty plain. I know it's not much, sighed Achiko. We know the truth, it's fine, said Izuku. Soon it was the last floor of the girls' room. They then got to Momo's room, which looked a bit lavish but normal. Wow! I was half expecting you to have a giant bed, said Toru. I figured that the dorm rooms wouldn't be that big. I learned a long time ago not every place is as big as my mansion's rooms, said Momo. You lived in a dorm in your past life, didn't you? Asked Achiko. I had to rent out 4 rooms, mostly to store the weapons and armor I couldn't store with my magic. She explained, blushing. I figured it wouldn't be able to hold my bed from home. The ones that knew about her mansion all stared at her and realized that it was a good thing that probably didn't bring one of her bed from home. And finally it was the last room, which was Suyu's room, which no one was surprised it was green and something of a frog theme to it. This is cute, said Mina. Thanks, said Suyu. And soon enough it was time to vote to determine who had the best room. Remember, you can't vote for yourself, and we will look at the handwriting, said Mina. And soon enough all the votes were tallied. Alright, the winner with 7 votes, the winner is Hagakure, said Mina. Wow, really? Asked Toru, surprised. Considering you converted your room to a weird party spy room, it's not too surprising, said Shiro, as it was clear that he voted for her. It was clear that Izuku, Kaminari, Kirishima and Sato had all voted, and there were a couple more votes, but those refused to admit it. Oh, thanks guys. I was expecting Sato to win actually, said Toru. He actually got second place with 6 votes, said Mina. It's because he bribed the girls with cake, said Kaminari, not because of anything to do with his room. Hey, I voted for her room too, said Sato with a shrug. You ate his cake, why were you immune to the cake? Asked Shiro to Izuku. You know he's a better cook than Sato, said Kaminari. Izuku's sweat dropped. You know, I think I'll make a snack for everyone, he said, deciding to change the subject. I'm going to bed since this is over, muttered Katsuki. Yes, they were giving it the dorms now, and it would be something to get used, but they knew they would. And things were going to get interesting due to this for sure. That will be it for this part. I hope everyone enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like and comment if you want part 59. If you want to hear more from me, subscribe. I hope to see you all in the next one.